Well, my friends, it's time to do a comparison of two completely different devices, both fighting hard to be the best in the mid-range market. On one hand, we have a massive powerhouse with amazing specs in the OnePlus 13R that goes for $599, and on the other hand, we have the Pixel 9a coming in at a cheaper $499 price point, which provides that classic Google experience, complete with great cameras, lots of helpful AI features, and impressively long software support, all packed into an affordable package. Two totally different devices with different takes on the mid-range offering. Personally, I think a lot of people will consider these two for years to come, so let's dive in and take a closer look to see which one of these might be the right fit for you, and please don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content like this. Let's start things off with how both these phones look and feel in the hand, focusing on the design and build, and I want to start with the most important aspects first. We all know these phones share a similar aesthetic, sporting that boxy shape, flat side rails, and a flat display. Where they differ visibly is of course with that camera module design. The Pixel 9a's cutout is super minimal and sits flush with the phone, while the 13R's module is much more noticeable, extruding quite a bit from the body. To me, these visual differences are surface level stuff, mostly boiling down to personal preference on which design you prefer. The truly significant differences lie in the build materials, size, weight, and durability. The Pixel 9a uses an aluminum frame paired with a plastic back. This choice should make it less prone to cracking or shattering compared to glass, although it might pick up scratches more easily, while the 13R opts for an aluminum frame and a glass back, potentially offering better scratch resistance, but being more vulnerable to drops. Interestingly enough, regarding the feel in the hand, I have to say both feel remarkably similar. If you told me the Pixel 9a had a glass back without me checking the spec sheets, I probably would believe you, and it doesn't feel like there's a real difference in quality here. When it comes to the size and weight, the Pixel 9a is great for portability's sake. It's both smaller and lighter than the 13R, featuring a 6.3-inch display compared to the 13R's larger 6.7-inch screen and weighing in at 186 grams versus the 13R's 208. This should translate to easier one-handed use for the Pixel 9a, making it more comfortable to carry in a pocket and generally feeling more manageable in day-to-day scenarios. The 13R's larger screen, however, I think is better for media consumption. To me, content is easier to see, there's more screen real estate for multitasking, and the keyboard feels much more spacious and comfortable for typing. Lastly, durability is a key differentiator here. The Pixel 9a has a much higher IP68 rating, meaning it's capable of withstanding submersion in water up to 1.5 meters deep for about 30 minutes. The 13R, with its lower IP65 rating, is only water resistant, meaning it can handle rain and accidental splashes, but definitely should not be submerged. So basically, when considering design and build, your choice boils down to prioritizing one-handed usability, pocketability, and better water resistance with the Pixel 9a, or opting for the larger form factor, which is best for media consumption, and perhaps preferring that glass back on paper if you can tell the difference on the 13R. Next, let's talk about the displays, and again, I'll highlight the most important aspects you should be aware of. Bezel side is one such aspect, and it seems to be a rather divisive topic in the Android community. Some people say bezels don't matter at all, while others do find it to be a point of contention. For this conversation, I encourage you to just go with whatever feels best for you. That being said, the screen to body ratio on the OnePlus 13R is impressively thin at around 91%, which by the way is almost as high as the S25 Ultra. The Pixel 9a, in contrast, sits around 84.5%. While it might not sound like a huge difference on paper, seeing them side by side makes the 9a's bezels noticeably thicker to me. I know I could probably get used to the larger bezels and it wouldn't be a deal breaker, but if I had to choose from the beginning, I would definitely opt for thinner bezels on the 13R, but again, this is a personal choice. Objectively speaking though, other aspects of the display are certainly not up for debate, and the 13R does take the lead here. It features an LTPO screen, which allows for the refresh rate to dynamically drop to just 1 Hz when viewing static images, significantly benefiting battery life, where the Pixel 9a's display can only dynamically adjust down to 60 Hz. Peak brightness is another clear win for the OnePlus 13R. It's rated for an insane 4,500 nits compared to the Pixel 9a's 2,700 nits, which is a massive difference, especially for outdoor visibility. Lastly, the OnePlus 13R uses newer Gorilla Glass 7 eye protection, which should generally offer better resistance against scratches and drops compared to the older Gorilla Glass 3 found on the Pixel 9a. All around, you're objectively getting a better, more advanced display on the 13R, but I have to be clear, both panels physically look great regardless of the specs, and you'll have a good viewing experience no matter what. That said, let's dive into the raw performance and internal hardware, because this is another major major area where these two devices are a bit different, to say the least. The most obvious difference is the internal processor. The OnePlus 13R is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, while the Pixel 9a uses the latest from Google in the Tensor G4 chip. Really, no matter how you slice it, whether looking at benchmarks, graphics, performance, long-term sustained use, or efficiency, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is really good at what it does. This was last year's flagship, mind you, and its capability truly shows, particularly when it comes to demanding tasks like gaming, for example. Don't get me wrong, the Tensor G4 in the Pixel 9a is still a very capable chip and handles everyday tasks perfectly fine. You definitely won't have issues with web browsing or social media use or maps navigation, for example. Basically, during day-to-day tasks, you should have absolutely no issue here. However, under long-term heavy load, it will start to throttle due to heat much earlier than the 13R would. RAM capacity is another notable difference that benefits OnePlus. The 13R comes with 12 gigs in its base model and offers a 16 gig version, whereas the Pixel 9a only has one configuration with 8 gigs, meaning the 13R should provide a smoother multitasking experience with more apps staying open in the background, plus a lot more aspects here. Storage options also show us a huge advantage for the 13R. Its base model starts at what I would consider a very generous 256 gigs, while the Pixel 9a begins at 128 gigs. To me, having double the base storage is a massive bonus right off the bat, and more importantly, the OnePlus 13R utilizes UFS 4.0 storage technology, which is much faster than UFS 3.1 used in the Pixel 9a. In theory, this translates to quicker app loading times, potentially improved power efficiency during storage operations, and higher bandwidth for intense activities like recording 4K videos or faster loading in graphically demanding games. All of these aspects combined make the OnePlus 13R feel like a huge step up in performance compared to the Pixel 9a, and it is something you need to seriously consider. Moving on to software, this is an area where I think Google can definitely have an edge depending on your specific needs and priorities. However, I must say, OnePlus offers a really great software experience with Oxygen OS as well. The most important factors here really come down to the software update policy, the overall user experience feel, and the specific software features. When it comes to software updates, Google is absolutely untouchable in this comparison. The Pixel 9a comes with 7 years of OS, security, and feature drop updates, meaning it will theoretically be supported until early 2032. The OnePlus 13R, while still respectable, promises 4 years of major OS updates and 6 years of security patches. Another perk for the Pixel is that Google phones naturally receive the latest Android versions first. They also typically get access to new AI Gemini features, at least to some degree, earlier than other Android phones. Plus, there is Pixel feature drops arriving roughly every quarter, bringing new features on a consistent basis. Although I have observed that older generation Pixels seem to receive fewer major features in recent drops compared to when they were new. For instance, the Pixel 8 series initially received a ton of new features per drop, but now they might only get 1 or 2, which is something to keep in mind. Don't get me wrong, OnePlus also provides updates with new features often in a similar time frame, but perhaps with a bit less consistency than what Google is known for. Even setting aside future updates, choosing between the current software experiences is tough as both offer a lot. Pixel is heavily focused on AI. This means you get features like Pixel Studio for AI image generation, the latest additions from Gemini like screen sharing or live video analysis, plus all the established Pixel staples such as Now Playing, call screening, real-time scam detection during a call, which is only scratching the surface on what this operating system offers. OnePlus also integrates its own AI features too, some mirroring the Pixel's capabilities to some degree, but I still believe Oxygen OS's greatest strength lies in its deep customization. You can tweak nearly every aspect of the operating system, like icon packs, always-on display images, home screen transition animations, fingerprint scanner animations, extensive color theming options, a highly customizable status bar, plus a ton of special little features built in between, and the list truly goes on and on. Basically, if you hop into the settings and go into any one page, you will find a ton of options to pick from, and this level of flexibility is something that Oxygen OS has really come to grow into over the years. At the end of the day, both operating systems feel buttery smooth in daily use, both are packed with useful features, and both show very different takes on the Android platform. So, once again, I feel this largely comes down to personal preference. Do you prefer the clean, AI-driven Google experience with long-term updates, or the highly customizable OnePlus implementation? Keeping with the theme of focusing on the most important aspects, let's talk battery stats, and here again, I believe the OnePlus 13R clearly outperforms the Pixel 9a. The 13R packs a massive 6,000 mAh battery compared to the still substantial 5100 mAh battery in the Pixel 9a. While both phones do offer good stamina overall, the 13R will objectively last significantly longer on average thanks to that larger capacity and likely more efficient internal processor. It's worth noting the Pixel 9a actually has the largest battery ever in a Pixel phone, and its endurance is truly impressive, especially for a Pixel, easily lasting for a full day for heavy users and potentially stretching to 1.5 days for lighter usage. To give you an idea on why I think the 13R is so great, I tend to keep everything maxed out. That means the highest resolution, performance mode enabled, image sharpening on, auto brightness off, and manually set to around 50% or higher. My thinking is, with such a big battery, why not enjoy the phone at its best? And even with this demanding setup, I consistently get around 7-ish hours of on-screen time. If I were to have everything set on auto, which would allow the phone to conserve much more battery, I'd probably be looking at closer to 10 hours of on-screen time for a single charge. On the Pixel 9a, as I mentioned, it usually takes a few weeks for battery optimization to fully settle in, but based on initial use, you can comfortably expect around 6 to 7 hours of on-screen time with heavy usage. So while both devices offer great battery life, the biggest advantage is with the 13R when it comes to charging speeds. The OnePlus 13R supports incredibly fast 80 watts wired charging, and thankfully they include a charging brick in the box, at least in US markets. This allows you to charge the massive battery from empty to 100% in roughly 50 minutes. The Pixel 9a, meanwhile, supports 23 watts wired charging, which takes about an hour and 45 minutes to reach a full charge. While the 9a speed is fine, especially for overnight charging, the convenience of the 13R's fast charging has won me over permanently. However, the Pixel 9a does have one small advantage here, as it supports wireless charging, a feature the 13R definitely does not. Finally, I know this review has been going on for a while now, but let's close out this comparison by discussing the camera, and I think there's an interesting aspect to bring up here. The Pixel 9a features an upgraded dual rear camera setup with a 48 megapixel main lens, similar to the one found on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, alongside a 13 megapixel ultra-wide sensor, while the 13R has a 50 megapixel main lens, a 50 megapixel telephoto lens with 2x optical zoom, and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens. When looking at photo samples side by side, there are a few distinct differences we can point out here. The Pixel 9a consistently produces image with a cooler, more neutral white balance, whereas the OnePlus 13R typically trends a bit warmer, often making white tones appear slightly yellowish. The way they handle exposure is also different, as the 9a tends to be a bit more conservative, sometimes resulting in slightly darker photos, while the 13R actively lifts shadows and midtones quite a bit, leading to an overall brighter image. In terms of contrast, the Pixel 9a seems to render images with lower to medium levels, which can occasionally make the photos appear somewhat flat. Combined with the often intense level of saturation produced by the OnePlus 13R, its images tend to look more vibrant and punchy compared to the more subdued output of the Pixel 9a. As a whole, the Pixel 9a generally aims for more natural, realistic looking photos, perhaps appearing a bit sharper this year compared to its predecessor, while the 13R, on the other hand, goes for a more vibrant, immediate, eye-catching look, images that are arguably more social media ready right out of the camera. Where the Pixel 9a likely has an edge though is with its software features and computational photography algorithms. You get Google's powerful AI tools like Add Meme, Best Take, and Magic Editor, alongside versatile camera modes like astrophotography. Plus, Google's Night Sight remains arguably the best in class for low light photography. Overall, I feel the Pixel 9a will likely be the more reliable and consistent performer across a wider variety of shooting conditions. That's not to say the 13R's camera is bad by any means. It will certainly get the job done and produce pleasing, colorful results that many users will love. But if camera versatility, consistency, and various AI features are important to you, the Pixel probably takes the win here. Regardless, for their respective price points, both phones offer very capable camera systems, and I don't think you can truly go wrong with either choice for everyday photos. So my friends, wrapping this comparison up, it's genuinely hard to say which phone is better versus the other, since they cater to two completely different audiences in the mid-range market. The Pixel 9a is a traditional Google experience through and through, with a great camera, AI features, long software update timeline, compact form factor, and great battery life, all at the $499 price point. While the 13R does truly feel like a great value when it comes to raw hardware. You're getting performance that rivals true flagships thanks to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip. You get more RAM, faster UFS 4.0 storage, a larger and technically superior display with very slim bezels, incredibly fast charging speeds, and the highly customizable Oxygen OS software experience. And that's before I talk about any of the extra stuff like the alert slider, the IR blaster, and so much more. That said, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you had to pick between these two, which would you go with and why? What factors make one better than the other for you? I would love to hear what the Android community is thinking about these two devices. In the meantime, I'm getting out of here. This has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.